And
Got sound?
yep, we can hear you. And he asked me not to mention it, but he's got beautiful pecs. These apparently don't get enough attention. Yes. Okay, so about Martin. Known Martin for many, many years now, and been lucky enough to see a lot of the Moodle journey with him. And but he is the man himself, and at the centre of this whole project. And I guess the reason that we're all doing this over the next few days. So without further ado, I'll pass over to Martin, who's just giving us an overview of the new features coming up in Moodle 2.3.
Thanks, Shane. And hello all. 50. Excellent, the magic 50. What's the maximum we can hold here? No? I suggest we go for the record anyway. All right, so, well, look, we got, I believe, an hour and a half or 3 hours, 4 or 5 hours to talk about Moodle 2.3. It's been busy here. Let's switch to the other layout and I'll show you. And I'll turn all the beeping things. I will have Twitter open, but I'm basically going to watch the chat more than anything else. And let me just switch. This. Hopefully you can see that. And I'm going to also hide, not conflicting. Okay, we're all good. You should be seeing a blue Moodle Sites. Is it okay? Thanks. If you raise your hand, I will not know what to do. Rob? Ask questions. Go for it. I'll just cut in any time. This is going to be a 100% demo. I'm not going to be doing any presentation. If you want to look at this stuff as a presentation, just look at the release notes for 2.3 because that basically covers it. Although they're still a bit rough. We're on the countdown now for 2.3, which will be released in exactly 3 weeks from today. It is, and I know I promised that we would never be late in future. It is a little bit late. It's going to be 2 weeks late, but it's a pretty controlled 2 weeks. We are at the moment just wrapping up lots of bugs. I could have cut a massive feature, which I'll talk to you about in a minute, but I'm pretty sure you wouldn't have liked that for the sake of 2 weeks. So I made the call to just go a little bit longer. But as you can see, it's all working reasonably well. So let's go into this course. So I've got a course here which I just quickly generated from the release notes to show you a few things. And the first thing I want to show you is the improvements to the course pages. And answer yes, it is June 18. I mean, internally we were really aiming for June, like the 3rd or 4th, but June 18 instead. So one of the phrases that I really hate around the place is the scroll of death, and probably everyone hates the scroll of death. This feature is deliberately to attack that. And it's not a major feature. It's kind of the feature that should have always been there in my eyes. So we were talking a lot about various improvements to the course formats. Most of them require fairly radical changes to the plugins and would break backward compatibility. And so a lot of those have been kept because we didn't want to do that in 2.3. We want to keep existing course formats all working. And what we've done is the minimum to give this paged look. And you can see right here, what we're looking at is actually the first section of a course. So if I go back to the main course page with the link at the bottom of the section or in the navigation, then now you can see the whole course. And it's only showing the titles of each topic, and it's showing the summary for each one. But if you go down into any of these sections, then you see that page. And now you can flip through the pages one by one. Okay, so it's just very basically breaking up the course into individual sections, having pages, having navigation, and it's all achieved through one setting in the course settings, where you can see there is a new thing called course layout, and you've got a choice of show one section per page or show all sections on one page. And that applies to all the major formats in core. Any other format can choose to obey that option if it wants to, but if it ignores it, it'll just behave as it is now. In 2.4 though, we do plan to have some really quite heavy course things. Big changes, so course formats will be able to have settings, there'll be all sorts of things. Now, another nice thing is that all the Ajax has been cleaned up on the course page. It's modernized, it's now UE3. It's on by default as well because it actually works very reliably. So this is what it looks like when you turn editing on. At the moment, we're staying on this page. Because I was looking at one section, turn editing on will just turn editing on for this section. So if you just need to edit one section, then it'll stay there. If you go back to the course page, you see everything completely stretched out. You'll see all the activities just like now, really, just like 2.2. So you can drag things around, organize the course, and then when you turn editing off, it goes back into that paged version. We discovered actually a nice little side benefit, which I need to show you some other stuff first. But you can move things around using this general section at the top. So section 0 is always showed at the top, always shown at the top. It works kind of nice as a little, I don't know what you call it, a bucket or something. So you can drag things from this section up there, then go to another section and drag it back out. So you can actually move things between sections even this way quite easy. We were looking at all sorts of complicated copy-paste type things, but actually that works really fast. There's a few other really cool things. Let me go through them in order so I don't miss any. Blocks can now be dragged and dropped if I go back to the course page. And I hope this is updating fast enough for you so you actually see it. Is the speed pretty decent, or is it updating very slowly? Okay. I'll try and slow down a little bit because I know, okay, good. So yeah, we have block dragging now. There's a calendar down here. I can just drag it and see you get this preview of the blocks like a proper drag. This theme actually has another section here, and oh, it's not working for some reason, so that looks like a little bug. But basically, it just works like you expect, dragging blocks around. Now, something else I've been really wanting for a long time is this. In Moodle 1.9, we actually had, next to the activity and resource menus, we had a help. And that help contained information about every single installed activity module. Somehow in 2.0, it got trashed. Now, I don't know who did it, and I've sort of held back from finding out because I'll probably strangle them. But anyway, we lost this help, and I wanted to bring it back in better than before. So we have this now. When you add an activity or resource, you get this thing, the activity chooser is its name. Now, it shows all the resources and activities here. If you click on any one of them, you get your help. This is obviously customized for each language. This link, More Help, takes you to the appropriate help in the Moodle docs. So you can really find out about each module. And it was very clear that for most people using Moodle for the first time, they get this list of activities and they have no idea what they are. You know, it's okay for experts. We know what they are, but most people don't. And I suspect if you read some of this help and some of the suggestions about how they can be used, even experts will maybe get some good ideas. So all activity modules supply this help string, and it gets shown in here. And then you hit add. Before I leave this, I want to show you a couple of things. You don't need to go click and then hit add. You can actually just double click. So if you're adding, say, a page, I double click on it, it goes straight to this. Add your page. For a page. That's basically it. And if you don't like this, and you really don't, you don't like it because you want it the way, there's this, in the course admin menu, there is an activity chooser off, which instantly switches to the old method. And so if you like it that way, you can. If you don't, go to the new method. So that, I think that answers everyone's questions there. Should be quite. Now we're still tweaking that display a little. Someone suggested, which I think could be a good suggestion, is that after you click on something, that you might even see the settings for it here, or an abbreviated form of the settings to just really, really quickly add it. But that requires quite significant changes that we need to do, and it'll break some backward compatibility again. So we need to do that for all modules. That's a bigger change than we could do in 2.3. But maybe down the track, we'll make this more of a wizard, and that's the kind of thing. Let me move on because we have a lot of things to cover. This one is going to be popular. You can now drag files straight into the course page. What does that look like? Well, I'm only sharing this web browser at the moment, so you can't see my Finder window on this Mac, but I have a folder with some files. And let me just get a PDF, drag it, and you can see me just dropping it straight in there. Yep, Dave O. Smith did this code with a lot of other people helping. It's still being tweaked, but let me get an image and drop it in there. Let me upload a movie. Notice the icons coming up. Upload the full Moodle Android source. Now the Android source is a zip file. So there's two things I could do with a zip file. I could create a file resource or unzip it and put it into a folder. So each module can actually say, I handle this type of files, and if there's more than one, then you get the option. So pretty soon there will be a SCORM option here. If you're uploading a zip and you know it's a SCORM package, then it will actually just make a SCORM activity instead of a zip. Well, let me try the folder. This is a lot of files, I think. I've never tried this before. If it's slow, then you will see an upload progress bar here. There we go. So we have a folder. Look at that. Moodle Android source code. Now that is really fast. It does make things very fast. So I think everyone's going to love that. Now, say when you dragged it in, you didn't like the name. So my folder name was Moodle Android source with hyphens in it. There's a new little thing here. You hit the edit. You can do it straight away on the page. Hit enter and it changes it immediately. So you don't need to open the whole editing form for that. So it's very quick, at least to start a course, to drag in all your resources and edit it quickly, and you can get the course done, the start of the course quite fast. Then I hope you're putting in lots and lots of really cool activities, not just resources, but at least the resources part is fast. Okay, good. What's the last thing I wanted to say was about sections. Back on the main course page here. If you just want to add a new section at the end, there's a new little plus and minus here as well. Hit plus. This will scroll down to the bottom. There's a patch just coming in right now. See how I just added a new topic, and I can add another one. And go. And if the last topic is empty and doesn't have anything in it, then you can actually hit minus as well. That's a little more intuitive, I think, for adding sections and removing sections from a course. So that's the kind of suite of course page related things in 2.3. It's all completely compatible with other course formats and everything. So I think this addresses quite a lot of the, you may remember I had a survey in December, the course survey, Moodle survey, where I was just asking for one thing that annoyed you the most. Quite a few of the things addressed by this. So this is a good thing. And that covers the first topic. So let's move on to the files usability. We have this a new file picker, which is sort of fixing a lot of the problems that we had before that people have told us about. So let me just add a file. So folder. Now, this is the new file manager. It used to look blue, or just all blue, so we had it before, but now it looks a lot nicer. It has this big, juicy looking icon, and it's because there's no files in there yet. But this is for managing files. Anytime you need to manage files, such as forum attachments or anywhere where there's a bunch of files. So again, we can drag and drop into here. Drag in a couple of pictures. Dragging them off my desktop straight in. Let's get an Excel spreadsheet. You may notice with the pictures, you get thumbnails now. So all pictures have thumbnails. In future, other files will have thumbnails too. We're going to generate thumbnails for PDFs and other things as well. It just takes, you'll need to have something at the back end that can actually read the file, process it as an image and produce that thumbnail. But the framework is all there. It just needs to be done for extended for various new file types. So any new file type can have a preview thumbnail like that. And save it. Now this screen I don't like. I would actually try and get rid of it. We haven't got a chance yet to change this thing, but this theme has a double block thing on the left. Anyway, you can see all your files here, and because we're in a folder, right, it's just showing a bunch of files. Sorry, was there a question from Nancy? Did the files you dragged in the first section of the demo, are they now in private files and or recent files? Okay, they are not in private files, but they are in recent files because I've recently used them. Well, let's see what that looks like. So let me add a file the old way. I'm not dragging and dropping. I'm going to use the add thing. Block thing is really annoying me, so what I'm going to do. Okay, so I want to add a file here without drag and drop. Let's use the file picker. So we hit add, and this is the new file picker. With the file picker now, it looks nicer. Barbara Ramiro, who's our new designer, has done a lot of work making things look nice. She hasn't yet got her hands on the rest of Moodle yet, but she's going to be doing a lot of stuff in 2.4, I suspect, to make it look like this, and it's going to be good. Marina has also been doing most of the coding for all this stuff, and is a huge job. The files area was a very complex piece of code, and yeah, much improved now anyway. So you can see in the recent files, there are the files that I've used recently, and that always works. You can always see those in recent files. Look at the server files as well. It's now less crappy than it was before. Now you actually see your courses like this. So I go into a course. Now these folders can be a little iffy, so let's go to a table view. We now have a table view all the time, and we also have a tree view. So if we wanted to go and get one of those Moodle Android files that I got before, there we go. When you do it, you see your thumbnail, if it supports a thumbnail, otherwise license and use it as before, and you select the file. What you will start seeing is with images, it'll tell you the dimensions of the image as well. There's that, I've grabbed that XML out of the other place. So that's right, Siggy. It should be easier now to find those files anywhere else where you put them. If you go through server files now, it also remembers where you were too. It's a lot easier to find old things. It makes more sense. There used to be a lot of folders in this hierarchy that were not actually needed, and they've all been stripped. I'm not going to talk about the Android files, just to keep you on your. There's a that's it. So yeah, browsing, pretty nice. Recent files makes sense. Again, here's the table view. It now supports sorting as well. Sort by name, sort by last modified, sort by size, sort by size the other way, sort by type. Should be clear. The only thing we haven't got is a search in here, which I think we'll need to. Search in the server files area would be pretty cool, but it's a very difficult problem, so left that for another day. Now, back to private files. Okay, so here I am on private files. You can see what happens here with a big file with a very long name. It wraps, still doesn't look too bad. Now I want to add into this folder. Remember, I was doing a folder inside this activity, and there's a file in my private files called support.gif, which you may recognize as being ripped off from the Moodle.org front page. Now, say I want to use this file in multiple places, and this was another of the big things that people said in the survey and have been saying for the last 2 years, that they really liked in Moodle 1.9, 1.x, that you could reuse a file in multiple places, and when you updated the original file, then all those places would update. So this is, we can now do that. We have this thing called creating an alias or a shortcut to the file. Very hard to come up with a name there that people know what that is. Alias is Macintosh language. Shortcut is Windows language. In Unix, we use a symbolic link. So we settled on alias/shortcut. Hopefully that helps everyone can understand what that is. And this is what happens. So I've got the image there. I'm going to make an alias to it. And there you go. Now we can't say link, Gareth, because a link in the web has another meaning. If you make an HTTP link, then that's something else. And sometimes you can actually do both. So in a URL activity, well, actually, no, not the URL activity, but in the URL activity, actually, you can only select links and you can only choose links. But they are different from this. This is an alias. Note the little icon there, and that's showing that this image is actually an alias. Hopefully that makes sense. Actually, everywhere we looked on every operating system, they all use that same metaphor. If you click on the file, and you can do this anytime on any file in the file manager, you get all the metadata. You can see the name, see the author. You can change the license should you want to. We don't stop you changing the license on the author. We trust you. If you want to do illegal things, then you can. Okay, we just build the road, you drive on it. The nice thing about this is this: it shows you where the original is, and it does it in kind of fairly nice written way, which makes sense. So yeah, you know that the original is over there in support.gif. And oops, I can spell my own name. That, and if I click it again, you see what's happened is I've just changed now this. I've changed the license just on this copy of it. We've decided to allow the licenses to vary. So that's up to you. You can change licenses on a reference on an alias. Okay, so see that? Pretty nifty. What's happened to the original file? Let's go and have a look. So if I look under private files area, oops. This is another new feature. You can't leave this form until you save it. So I'm going to stay on this page, and I should always save my changes. We are still keeping this. There are no changes until you save it. So you do have a kind of undo, a one-level undo mechanism. But let's go now into the private files. Now here's that original file that I linked. Because it now has a link to it, it has this new lock icon. The little lock icon indicates, if I click on it to get more info, that there is one alias to this file, and this says where it is. It's in Moodle 2.3 demo, and some in this folder, blah, 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 in here. That's informational. They're just telling you that it's being used. Probably you'll be wondering, what happens when you delete this file? Does anybody want to guess? Hopefully someone's still listening to me. What should it do? Deletes both? Okay, no. Doesn't delete because it's being used? No. We went through all these things. What should it do? It does this. It says, are you sure you want to delete this file? There are one alias shortcut files that use this file as their source. If you proceed, then those aliases will be converted to true copies. We have to do this because if you go and delete those things from where the aliases are, you will completely stuff up all sorts of stuff, right? Those files are in use in all kinds of ways that you may not even know. You may not even have access to them anymore. So at least this keeps everything consistent, and it will just keep it all nice and clean. So when you delete them, so we spent the simplest interfaces are the hardest to get to. Now let me do one other thing. What I'm going to do is just go. Sorry to blocking out the screen a bit there. I just want to find myself a GIF. Do is just go to quickly and pinch one. Place it with this news icon. I'm going to save that on my desktop as support.gif. Go back to my private files, and I'm going to add load. Could have dragged and dropped, but I'm doing it this way because I like doing things the hard. Upload. A file with that name has already been attached. I'm not sure about attached, it probably should be, it's already there. Anyway, overwrite. Okay, I could make a new one, but I want to overwrite this file. I'm explicitly doing it and saving the changes. And now, see that file has changed. And let's go back to that folder activity, which was in Moodle 2.3, files usability. The alias version is also changed. Okay, so that's that'll be useful for PDFs and all kinds of stuff. Go around rewiring your whole sites with things. So I think this will be, hopefully, judging from the feedback, quite popular, and maybe convince some people to go to Moodle 2 finally. All right, let's move on. These, I mentioned the pretty icons, I mentioned the views, drag and drop, editing info, we're done. Let's go on to repository stuff. Okay, the thing that I think is really good about the aliases, and in fact the main thing, is that it's, oh, sorry, Mandy. I will completely blame servers, not me. I'm trying not to be high latency. The same feature for the aliases works. Oh, I could stop my webcam actually. You don't. The same feature, the aliases that that works, as I just showed you, works for external repositories. Okay, so finally, this is repositories working as they kind of always should have. Let me give you an example of that. If we look in this screenshot, this is an example of the new Equella plugin. Now, we worked closely with the Equella people on getting a best of breed, and that's a marketing term, suddenly slipped out, integration. In this integration, Equella is allowed by Moodle to take over the whole pane of the file picker, and it defines this interface. And so you have a full Equella interface actually served by Equella there. You can do all the searching and all the browsing and whatever you have to do, pick a version, whatever, all there. And then when you actually hit select here, that's when the reference or the alias gets pushed into Moodle, and it appears inside Moodle just like those alias files did as a normal file. If it's in a Moodle activity, that Moodle activity has full control over the access to that file. So in this example, I'm a teacher. I have particular access to this repository. There's certain files I can access and no one else can access. But when I go through this process and make the alias, I have given everyone who has access to that activity access to that file. Moodle controls the access. So if it's an assignment or a quiz and it has due dates and all that stuff, Moodle has that control. The students will never see the original URL to the Equella file. It's all under the hood. So the security is maintained, and when you update the file in the repository, it magically appears in Moodle. This kind of thing is not allowed in some areas of Moodle. It's not allowed for assignment submissions, for example. Otherwise, you'd have students updating their assignments after the due date. It's not allowed in forum attachments because forum posts are in a moment of time, right? You have people replying to them, and just like the editing stops after X minutes, so too will the attachments. You can't update the attachments. You aren't allowed to make references to external files in those attachments. And so you have to make copies in those cases, just like you do now. But for many other places, particularly all the course content, this really works really well and will be very cool. So truly now I think we have proper repository integration that we haven't had before. Makes repositories really useful. The repository plugin has the complete control over how the file is served. It can do all the secure tokens and whatnot, but it can also say redirect the user there. So if you've got a single sign-on situation, it can choose to redirect you to serve that file and handles all those different methods. Getting a bit too technical, don't want to lose you, but hopefully you find that an interesting thing. So that Equella plugin will be in Moodle 2.3. Obviously, you'd need Equella to use it, but all the technology and the framework around it is what's important to me. It means that these sort of plugins can be written for every repository out there. The repository, if you want to do this properly, the repository does need to do some work too. I think Alfresco has already done that work, so if you're using that, it would work. But anything that can send a file as a have a unique URL with tokens in it or something to send the file, then would work really well. So over time, there'll be more. Oh, one thing I should add, this works with Dropbox. I probably should have showed that, but I haven't set up for it right now, so do that yourself. Pretty much it. The last thing is, well, not really. The server files now works with more places around Moodle. The next thing I want to talk about is the assignment module. The assignment module has been completely rewritten. Yeah, Richard, Dropbox does support it. In fact, all those services out there, box.net, say, potentially things like SharePoint or all those free ones and non-free ones could all be integrated this way, but someone needs to write the interface. Google Drive, I'm sure will be possible, but I haven't seen that done yet. But it would definitely be a big one to go for, I imagine. Okay, the assignment module. The assignment module, and sorry if I haven't mentioned like who's been doing all this work so far. Please look at the release notes to see all the credits. But for example, a lot of the course stuff was Dave O'Smith from Synergy, and also Andrew and Ruslan from Lunds did a lot of that. We've got the file stuff was mostly Moodle HQ here. This assignment module was done from by NetSpot. NetSpot, the Moodle partner based in Adelaide, they have worked with a number of their university clients to improve the assignment module. But one of the things they had to do first was clean up the old code, which was old. And so in 2.3, what we have is a new assignment module that replaces the old assignment module. It doesn't do very much extra. It pretty much just replaces it, but from a coding perspective is much better set up for development in future. They have also done maybe 20 new features which are going to slowly be added now on top of this foundation. But we worked really hard with them, and they worked really hard to write the code, get it up to scratch, to make a very solid assignment foundation. And assignment is one of the major modules in Moodle, so this had to be done properly. Now they know better than anyone else that something like 80% of the work is all the polishing and the bringing the code up to speed, even after it already worked. Our integrators can be quite punishing, but it's working good now. In Moodle 2.3, this module and the old assignment module both exist side by side. The old one is under mod assignment. This one is under mod assign. What you would probably want to do is just migrate to the new one, and it'll just convert all your old assignments into new assignments, and that should work pretty cleanly. If for some reason you want to keep the old assignment, you're still free to. The old assignment will go away though in probably 2.4. People have had time to adjust to it, or it'll become a third-party module. There's no real reason for it except to support some of those esoteric assignment plugins that people have written in the past. So that's that. I can show you a little bit what it looks like. Here's a new assignment where I want everyone to submit a scan of their passport and their birth certificate so that I can steal their identities. If I go into the view, loaded earlier, a PDF of my passport, I can view it. Tried to keep it looking as similar as possible to the old one, but well, you can see it does. There's a whole bunch of fake users, so what is different is that on this grading page, you may know about the advanced grading methods that was added in Moodle 2.2. which is the first one was rubrics. And this is the second advanced grading method. And it is called something which is completely it's called a marking guide. So the spec for this came from some of the universities working with NetSpot. The marking guide lets you, it's similar to a rubric, I suppose, but it's more this kind. So you have some description, and you type in your answers here, and you give it a grade out of something. So you define this form in the setup for the activity or for the grading. Now, what this is good for assignments is if you do a lot of comments. So here are frequently used comments. Now, I added these 3. You can make anything you want. They could be really long ones. But say you wanted to say, this is junk, click in there, this is really good. So if you're doing the same comments over and over, you can make these frequently used comments. So otherwise, there's feedback. You can add files. There's no need for separate assignment types anymore. There's just one assignment type, and you say whether you want files or text or whatever. It's all in the same interface. And page, see an assignment setup. Submission, you could say, you want a text, yes or no. Do you want files, yes or no? How many files do you want? And all that stuff. Do you want feedback comments? Yes. Do you want feedback files? Yes. And so on and so on. Assignment module. If you want to see, does anybody want to see what that, the grade, the advanced grading looks like? Let's define this marking guide. It's here. This is where you define the marking guide. So you add a new criterion and you say, I'm going to use this grammar. What is the name of grammar? And, blah, what do they think about the grammar, etc., etc., and then give them a maximum mark out of, say, 30. And then you add another one. It makes it easier for the graders to grade. All these numbers are then added together and turn into one number, which actually ends up in the grading book. Okay, so my total marks are 200 points, but the maximum is 100, so it's all going to be scaled down to 100, and so on. Okay, next, book module. How many people here use the book module? Just type yes. Type no if you definitely don't use it. Yeah, someone hates it, loves it, uses it once. Yes, wow, it's quite cool. A lot of yeses. Okay, I've not used it much myself, but it is the most popular third-party Moodle plugin that we have. So it was always possible to add it yourself. It now comes standard in the box. So if I go to my book, hope you enjoy it. It's chapter 1. Now, it doesn't have to just be text. You can have obviously a whole lot of HTML images and markup and everything here. Text seems to appear a lot. I'm pretty sure that's not me. It's a random generator I used to generate this book. And that's the end. So go. The book module, standard in Moodle. What's next? The quiz module. Now, the quiz module is not something that I use a lot either. So Tim Hunt, totally in control of this. We just leave it with Tim Hunt at Open University. He does all the work on this and all the things that are necessary. He's fixed a couple of things or improved some things. One of them was a very highly voted one. I think it had 99 votes. And it was this. It was, how do you handle quiz attempts that are not submitted by the deadline? And there is a, oops, I'm going. A new setting for people who are into quizzes, which is this. When the time expires, the attempt is submitted automatically, or there's a grace period to submit the attempt or answer more questions, or the attempt has to be submitted before the time expires, otherwise you get nothing. I believe when that was originally came in, it said, that is it, tough luck. But slightly improved there, the wording. Anyway, that was one of the highest voted requests for quiz, and it's now in there, and there's a bunch of other stuff. There's an option for the teacher to force students to answer the quiz questions strictly in order. We didn't have that before. We let them go all over the place, answering whatever order they liked, but you can force it. And that, as far as I know, is all there is new in the quiz, apart from lots of bug fixes. As always, all these things always have lots of bug fixes. Another nice little thing from Ankit, who was a Google Summer of Code student last year from India. Young guy was working on this Google Summer of Code student. We gave him a job. He's now here at Moodle HQ. He moved to Perth, and this was actually his Google Summer of Code project, which was in a SCORM activity. He made a new report called the graph report, which graphs grades of people who've finished. So if they haven't finished, they're in the not enough data column, and if they've got 0 to 10%. So you can just sort of get a very quick graph of just people in that SCORM activity. That is probably only useful if you use a lot of SCORM, but apparently a lot of people wanted that, and so now they have it. That's another little new thing. Here's something biggish. There's David Mudrak, who also works for Moodle HQ, was working on all this other stuff with us. He's also in charge of the Moodle workshop module, so he pleaded for a couple of weeks to fix things in the workshop module. He just went away for 2 weeks and did all this stuff, and that was all the top voted things from the tracker relating to workshop. So one of them here is that the workshop can switch to assessment automatically at the deadline. So you set up a submissions deadline, and once all the assignments have come in, then it switches to assessment automatically. They're all automatically allocated. Everyone gets the things to assess, and off they go. That saves some work, and you can automate a lot of stuff. The deadlines now appear in the calendar automatically, so everyone knows what's going on and when things are happening. There's just better looking interface and things like that. Workshop demo here. I just had a word to him actually about why this was so narrow, and promised he's going to fix it today, so this will be wider. But anyways, if you haven't looked at the workshop before, it goes through these phases, and he's done tremendous work because he rewrote the workshop completely in Moodle 2. If you're still using Moodle 1, then you're using a huge buggy pile of crap. This is really, really good now. This will really make it usable, and I really, if you have large classes, get into it, because it's a nice way to get all the students doing your work for you. So why not? So I would really really recommend the workshop in Moodle too, especially now with some more automation that it has. And maybe we should have used it for the papers process for the Moodle Research Conference that's coming up, which I'll just mention as an aside if you didn't know about it. We have this research conference coming up in Crete in September. And we've had a whole lot of people submitting papers. And we're actually using a conference thing, but actually I reckon Workshop could have done it anyway. It's called Easy Chair. It's what most conferences use for that. Okay, good. So that's the workshop module. Got some good stuff in there. Now this is something also I've been wanting for a long time. We now have available update notifications. What does this do? Well, you may know, I hope you know, all plugins. And it's filling up very nicely. There's 73 blocks, there are 5 reports, there's 76 activities, and this is the central place for people to store information about third-party plugins for Moodle. Now I know the interface here is a little dodgy. We'll probably have another round of cleaning it up next month once 2.3 is out. But underneath it's sound, it's a very good database of all the third-party modules that count. I'm just going to say that. Okay, if they're not in there, they don't exist. So any Moodle site starting from 2.3 connects to this database and also to the main Moodle distribution site, download.moodle.org, which still, after all these years, looks like this. But we have it also scripted now in the background, and we have feature which will check that from within Moodle. So let me show you what that looks like. It doesn't look like very much. Site administration. Settings page first. So under server, there's update notifications. And these are your new settings for the admin. You can automatically check for available updates. And every so often it just checks the database for new updates to your modules, and it will send a message to the site admins saying, hey, there's a new version of, you know, whatever you're using. Maybe it's the SoundCloud module or something. You can choose to get updates on stable or beta or whatever, different versions. You can also get information about the weekly versions. So there is a weekly version of Moodle published every week. They're generally very, very safe. They've gone through a lot of QA even every week. So unless you're the sort of place, a company that really has a policy that you must stick to Moodle 1.2.3 or something, an actual version number, then, but if you don't mind a little tiny bit of risk, then I would recommend you stick on the weekly versions, which is the plus ones, so 2.3 plus every week, and you'll get that information as well. And it gets messy. You can also check it manually. So if you go to the notifications page, this page is ugly as anything, but there is a button here called check for available updates. I go check. It does a little call to moodle.org and says your code is up to date. So very, very easy to check for plugins and updates. Now at the moment, when you do, if there is an update, and I wish I could have shown you, but I can't yet because there aren't any 2.3 plugins, and there certainly aren't any new versions of them. If there are new updates, then you get the opportunity. You see a report, a whole page that shows you, the differences. It sends you links off to the website so you can read about them, and you can download them. There's like links to download them. It does not install them, so it's not like WordPress yet. But that is coming in 2.4. If you do the same kinds of things that you do to a WordPress site, so you may have to make an FTP account, for example, But then Moodle will do the download and installation for you. So if you set that up, you'll be able to do one-click updates basically of all the plugins, and that will hopefully encourage people to upgrade more often. Okay, so that will be a nice thing, but all the infrastructure is all there for that. I think available update notifications. Next up, 2.4. These are the kinds of things we're focusing on. Let me make this big. These are the things on our hit list to 2.4. Bill, that's a good question. Well, no, because actually, don't know. Probably not, actually, no, it won't, Bill, because you'll still have to put the 2.4 code into Moodle. You have to install it first for it to have the feature for the upgrade, won't it? So, no, you'll have to install 2.4. Then, after that, you should be able to upgrade online. Now, it doesn't just work. You can't just go changing your file system permissions and off you go. It'll be more secure than that. You'll probably have to make an FTP account and give that access to your files and so on. And every time you do it, you'll probably have to log in with a username and password to prove that you aren't some random person. So there'll be that kind of security, but then the actual upgrade will happen by itself when you download. So the things that we want to work on here are the performance. There's some attention on the performance for very large sites. Moodle can use a lot of resources. We have some ideas for how to improve that a little. There's a Moodle universal cache, which will replace probably about 10 caches that we already have into one system. And from a back end, someone technical can actually hook it up to a server cache. For very large sites, that's very useful for performance. Maybe you've got a large cluster of machines, and you have all these caching. When you want to use these PHP caching systems, you can now use that for all your Moodle caching. The course formats, like I mentioned, will have a refactoring. There'll be full plugins, not just the kind of half plugin they are now. There'll be a real plugin. They'll have full settings. So you can make plugins that have their own configuration variables, and they'll be a lot more flexible. The format can take over the entire page. And I really want to see the community coming up with great course formats. I know, Gareth, you have. I hope with this that you can really, and especially with the updates, that once people start using your plugin, that they'll be able to get upgrades. You'll have the flexibility to do everything basically, because what we're trying to do is make Moodle a generic platform. And the stuff we implement in core, like the paging, course paging, was just meant to be very generic, kind of finishing off what we started. But the more advanced course formats, the community, and they'll be easy to get. Reading back some of the chat here. Yeah, Shane, absolutely, what Shane's saying is exactly right. If you can use Git, I'd stick with using Git. That's really the best. Then you can have local customizations and so on as well. Cheers, Steve. Yeah, okay, let's move on. There is a new course category management interface. So you're probably familiar with our existing interface for managing courses. I'm going to show it to you so you can watch me cringe. So we have this interface. Now, this is a very old interface. I think Shane will remember working on it with me probably many, many years ago, and it grew and grew over the years, and little things were added, and um, it's 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 dodgy. You can't do very much with it. It has buttons in weird places. It's probably not like any other interface I've ever seen. Anyway, there is a very nice new system that Sam Hemmelrick has already done, and we just need to work throw it out there. If you go and do a search in the forums for course category management, you'll probably find it. It's got some spots. It's very Ajaxy. It's more drag and drop, and so on. So that'll be a nice thing to get in. We are going to do a nice replacement, finally, of all the icons. I feel the same about the icons. Very cringeworthy. But I will point out that I have personally put almost every single pixel into place here. They're all done pixel by pixel, and you can see a developer's done it. You've seen what the new file picker looks like, so you have some idea of what Barbara can do. When we turn Barbara loose on this, I suspect it's going to look awesome. So we'll be working a lot on the graphic design of lots of things. We may use Tango. Tango is an option, but Barbara can also draw stuff. So she may just draw new stuff. But we will definitely look at Tango. Yeah, we're going to look at all the themes that are out there, look at all the things that are around, and come up with nice icons that are bigger, that are scalable, and all those things. While this is sort of related, is usability. There's going to be lots of cleaning up of little pages and interfaces. There's a lot of things known already that we can work on. I won't go into too much details here because I don't want to make promises yet, but there'll be lots of different things to work on. We're also talking with usability people, doing some studies on what they think are priorities as well. So we'll do there'll be lots of basic usability work. It's just going on all the time. So there will definitely be usability improvements. There will be a repository plugin, I'm almost certain, that lets you do direct audio video recording straight into Moodle. So you open up the file picker, you go record, and yep, there's Poodle there. Poodle works really well. There's also SoundCloud stuff. We were thinking though that we could probably do them more completely internal without using any external system at all, or making something that's more generic. But those other modules already exist. Use them. We just need something in core that is not reliant on external services, I think. So there is a Google Summer of Code project already going for this. So that work's already proceeding, and we'll see how that goes. Well, that's the thing, Gavin. They're going to work on a framework that will support Flash or Java or HTML5, all in the one project, and that way you can choose, whatever you want to use or whatever you have. The Flash does require a server to talk to, just because of the nature of Flash, and that's the problem with it. That's why Poodle, as far as I remember, that they use Flash, but they have to have a Poodle server running on Amazon somewhere that does that processing, which is cool, and it's the workaround that's required. But it would be nice not to rely on an external server all the time. Oh, well, that'd be sensational. Actually, that was one of the ones I wanted to watch. Actually, I haven't seen the Poodle thing lately. But when I saw it in Japan 2 years ago, it was pretty slick. I was quite impressed. Forum. The forum. That's our next major module that needs an upgrade. There is the Forum NG from Open University. A lot of people are using it, and it's time to look at it as a replacement. It's been on the agenda for a long time. I've been talking a lot with Open University lately, and we're going to work together on this for 2.4. making sure that if it does replace the forum, that it does everything the old forum did, and then some. Similarly, they have the OU Wiki, which we rejected once before. If you remember, we had a vote on a replacement wiki, and there was a lot of people going for the wiki that we currently have in Moodle 2, which has not really worked out, and it's very hard to get developers to touch it. The OU Wiki has OU behind it. They would really like to maintain it and work on it, and so we're going to review that, getting the OU Wiki to replace it. Of course, that'll be our third wiki. Then we have calendar. This is actually, I think, the #1 voted item on the tracker, and there's code floating around. It needs to be rewritten a bit, but looks like it will be by Jonathan Harker, so that will be very cool. You can import iCalendar streams straight into the Moodle calendar. You can already export them. You can put your Moodle calendar and stream it to your Google Calendar, and I do that, and Moodle calendar stuff just pops up on my phone. It's very nice. But going the other way around would be quite useful too. Then you could really, set up all kinds of streams of calendars here and there, perhaps between Moodles and things like that. And we're going to be tackling all the most voted fixes from the tracker. That's kind of looking like the rough list. Again, disclaimer, some of that may not make it. It depends on Go, but that's kind of what I think we can handle, 2.4. And there'll be other surprises that come along, because there's always third parties who have great ideas and code, and we put it in. Now, I haven't talked much about all the other stuff. It's just been Moodle itself. There is a lot of other stuff we've been working on. There's the Moodle mobile app, for example, and the feature being worked on there is notifications currently. So Dongsheng has written a notifications server. I was just talking about being reliant on external things, but in this case, it's not actually very easy for someone to okay, Nancy, 2.4 will be December this year. So our major releases are every 6 months, give or take a week or two. Rob wants to ask about MyMoodle. MyMoodle definitely needs a lot of work. Well, I can say MyMoodle, and it means something different. But if you might want to talk about your Moodle, the MyMoodle page, this was never really meant to just be this. I was hoping people would write a lot of really cool blocks for this, and there hasn't been too many. But if you saw what Lewis Carr's doing, some really cool stuff there. Like to talk to you, Lewis, if you're still here. Can't see, but I really would like to get a lot of that in, if possible. But I think most of it can be done with blocks. There doesn't need to be, major changes. We just need good blocks. But some of those blocks are going to require hooks, and those hooks are going to require work in all the modules. And those changes to the modules will cause backward compatibility problems, and so on and so on. So it needs to be all thought through. Probably the major thing that I want to see on this page personally is a notification stream. One stream of information that tells you, that is useful. So customized for every user. When you tie that in with the notifications in the mobile app, then you'll see you'll be getting notifications like this. Your assignment's due in 2 weeks. Better get cracking on it. Something like that. This student is having a problem right now. Maybe you should give them a call if you're a teacher. So tying in more analytics, and also tying in more useful information, but in a stream. That's the key thing. And I reckon that needs a lot of work. I really want to see that done. It could be done as a block, but it needs to be tied in with all the other parts of Moodle to work properly. Because you have to scale it, and it has to work for, you know, a site with 20,000 users where they're all getting their own customized stream, and the whole thing should not crash, obviously. So that's a nice thing. What else? Let me look back through the chat here. What else are people talking about? Troy's talking about supporting third-party authentications. Well, we already do. However, there is the OAuth 2 work, and that's, oh, I see, for mobile, right? That's not going to come in a hurry. The whole mobile thing is a little bit up in the air right now. Dongsheng, who was working on it, has actually just moved on. He hasn't died or anything, he's just gone somewhere else to work. So they're going to slow down on development a bit there, but I'm currently just evaluating the whole environment. We do have code for a Android version, which mirrors the iPhone version. We also have the HTML5 version from Juan Lever in Spain. And among all those, we need to come up with a strategy where we can focus all our energies on. So anyway, work in progress, currently working on that right now, so I can't say too much, but mobile is definitely important, and we need to do it properly. The other thing is that we need to work on the mobile theme in Moodle so that even if you are online, Moodle works really well on mobile screen. Okay, and then quickly go back through the questions. Okay, oh, Rob, you were talking about app all along. Okay, never mind. That's good. The drag and drop, is it browser dependent? It is pretty good on all browsers. No, it works on IE. It works pretty much on all of our platforms. So see what the requirements are, because I can't remember. For Moodle 2.3, we made the minimum requirements higher. It's now Internet Explorer 8. Okay. No, we refuse to work on IE6. Even IE7 is very, very old. Google stopped supporting it, so I think that gives us a good excuse. Safari 5 is also pretty old, but that's a minimum requirement. That lets our developers actually move on and actually achieve stuff without having to stress too much about browsers which are only, you know, 0.5% of usage. It's not hard to upgrade a browser, really. So, you know, I don't want to sound harsh, but enough's enough. Well, look, that's, you know, IE7, crikey, I feel sorry for you. But there are technical difficulties that just make it impossible to develop for these old things. So yeah, it probably, I don't know if 2.4 will go up. We'll see. I'm kind of following Google's lead. And I suggest if you are stuck in a place with an old browser, that you should probably tell someone that it's stupid and get them to change it. Hopefully, well, hopefully Moodle's minimum requirements will be yet another thing you can use as ammo. Yeah, maybe bring your own machine to work. Get a laptop or an iPad. I know I sound harsh, but really, you know, from our perspective, we're dealing with these things for years and years and years on end. So, you know, at some point, we actually have to move forward. And really, you know, if it comes to the point that there is no way to upgrade because you're in such a department that's stuck in the dark ages that they are on Firefox 3, really, then you just can't use Moodle 2.4. sorry, you'll have to use an older version. And that's, you know, if you're using older browsers, you're going to have to use older software. You can't demand the very latest features on very, very old browsers. Unfortunately, they can't go together. Or you can do things like switch off JavaScript or switch off features in Moodle, because often it's just particular features like drag and drop, for example, that won't work. So, you know, Moodle will still degrade nicely and we still care about accessibility and so on, but you just won't have the features. That's it, Miriam. Fight the good fight. What else was I going to talk about? Any other questions? Any other things you want to ask about? Yeah, look, here's the thing about the Android app. I paid a company to develop it. They promised a few weeks. They've so far taken 6 months and it's still largely rubbish. Our guys here who've looked at the code, like Dongsheng looked at it in depth with Jerome and said, look, it would be, if we release this, it would be easier for people to start from scratch than to try and work with this code. And so I'm probably going to just pay them to fix a few really obvious things, and I'm going to throw it up on GitHub and drop it. I don't think we're even going to work on it anymore, but the work's sort of been done. It's a tough call. I feel a bit like I'm throwing good money after bad there. But as I said, a bit up in the air with that because the HTML5 app with certain improvements could possibly be a viable alternative and might be a lot better for the long run. But yeah, actually, Gavin, maybe not always, actually. An app that doesn't work or looks really bad is, yeah, we'll see. I'll throw it up there. We'll see. Maybe someone wants to take it on. It might be, we'll see. I think I probably will get it. It's just going to cost me thousands of dollars, that's all. I wonder if that's better spent on something else. What else have we got here in the chat? Probably stop sharing my screen now, I suspect. This is now I did want to mention one thing. Okay, let me see. Richard, would the HTML5 one be completely cross-browser, so a single point on iPad? Well, that's the goal. There is of course, there's a balance there, which is that HTML5 is really slow and awkward and just doesn't look very nice or work very nice on anything. In my opinion, it's really scungy. If you're used to an iPhone and how apps work on an iPhone, and then you use an HTML5 app, it's usually a really poor experience. So in principle, yes, it will be, that's the way to do it, and everything's going HTML5, but in practice, it's not so great. So that's why we started with an iPhone app. But I really want to get into the tablet space. I use my iPad for more and more and more. I'm sure a lot of you are using tablets also, and you know, direction. One thing I did want to show you was, you may know that there's some sort of competition going on iMoot. And I was asked for something that only people who've been to the presentation would know. So you may know that on all the Moodle releases, I usually have a photo of my kids. Well, I have had ever since Moodle 1.1. So my kids have been growing up since the beginning. This is the one from 2.2. That's my kids there in a mirror. As my kids have got older, of course, they take over this process, and before every release now, I kind of ask them for ideas, what do they want to do? And the one for 2.3, I'm giving you advance notice, is going to be something that we built in Minecraft. So there's my kids in me in Minecraft, with a giant 2.3 logo. So you'll be seeing that on the release announcement in the forum. Don't tell anybody, it's a secret. But if you need it for the competition, there you go, now you know. So I don't know if anybody else has been using Minecraft here, but if you haven't, it's awesome. Okay, I think that's all I wanted to cover. Any last questions? That isn't the actual photo that'll be used. It's going to be slightly different, but that is the giant 2.3 we'll be using. Where's the subliminal M? I don't know. We have to do one, Vinny. I haven't got one yet. Maybe I'll do a tree in the background or something just for you. Bill, has the add a question button been changed to add content page and lessons? I have no idea. Let's have a look. Talking about? Oh, add a content page. Okay. I don't really use lesson here. Does that answer your question? Okay. All right. Anyway, the way to do those is through the tracker as usual. Please use the tracker. A lot of people are using the tracker now. It's really great, but we're just focusing more and more and more on our workflow in the tracker, and it's enabling us to be a lot more efficient with the resources we have and turn everyone's wishes into software you can use. So anyway, I hope you like all this 2.3 stuff, and it'll be out in a few weeks, and we will keep on plugging on. Thanks all.
Thank you, Martin. Obviously, Julian here. On behalf of the iMoot team, obviously, thank you for doing this keynote. It's been a fantastic view into this upcoming future, and I think the reaction from the chat room here is exactly what you'd want to hear. I think I heard more jaws dropping the floor and people's socks blowing off than Lewis Carr's session, which is a fantastic thing. I always tell people I highlight what I think the theme of 2.3 is, and for me, I pick up the theme is just this usability. It's all better, faster, stronger, and I do think if it wasn't breaching copyright, then Daft Punk's song would certainly be the song I'd choose to use as the launch for this. So look, thank you again. Please, on behalf of everybody here in iMoot, also please make sure you pass the best on to your development team on all the fantastic work they've done there. It's fantastic, and yes, I'm afraid to say that we are also out of time. It is nearly 8:30 and our next sessions are due to start. So if everyone wants to hang for a bit and throw things at Martin, please feel free. And Martin, you can stay, I guess, as long as he can stay. I'm sure he's got things to do as well to do with 2.3. And everybody enjoy the rest of iMoot. I hope you enjoyed the session.